We started implementing poverty elimination projects only in mid-1980s. Before that, it was providing people access to food, ensuring food security to the islands, generating employment, and starting economic activities which will ensure that there is sufficient access to funds, access to other resources. By the time we actually started in 1985, what was the first time we implemented National Development Plan, a number of activities eventually led us to eliminate absolute poverty and hunger.
Hi, welcome back to our podcast, The Zero Hunger Project. I'm your host, Suman,
I'm Stacia.
and today we're going to talk to Ambassador Dr. Ali Naseer Mohamed. Would you tell us a little bit about him?
It is my pleasure to welcome Ambassador Mohamed. He is a senior Maldivian diplomat with decades of experience in leadership and foreign policy, multilateral engagement, and sustainable development. He has served as the Maldives' permanent representative to the United Nations, ambassador to the United States and Canada, and foreign secretary, where he oversaw the implementation of foreign policy and guided the work of missions worldwide. A former chair of the Alliance of Small Island States, he strengthened global advocacy on climate change, ocean governance, and sustainable development, transforming the alliance into a recognized knowledge hub. Dr. Mohammed has led major national and international initiatives in resource mobilization, coordinating over 70 million US dollars during the COVID-19 response and advancing key reforms to support national development priorities. He has played a central role in UN negotiations, SID processes, and strategic partnerships, and is widely regarded for his thought leadership on diplomacy, climate action, and international cooperation. Thank you very much for joining us today, Ambassador.
Thank you. My pleasure.
So, Ambassador, Maldives. Could you tell us what's happening in Maldives? How's the poverty, food insecurity? What's working?
Right. Thank you very much for having me to your show. Um, to start with, absolute poverty in Maldives is virtually eliminated some years ago. If you had to take a global benchmark of $3 a day poverty line, then the Maldives poverty stands 0.001%, somewhere. It's virtually eliminated some years ago. But we have our own national poverty line, which is US dollars 8 per day. Using that benchmark, the Maldives poverty rate stands around 5%, uh, nearly 5%, which is not good. But compared to South Asia, our poverty rate is way down. Poverty we have worked quite a lot in the past 40 to 50 years to come out of poverty. The Maldives used to be the poorest country, not just in South Asia, but also in the entire world. In 1971, Maldives GDP per capita was roughly 20 US dollars a day. From there, we have come a long way. The Maldives geography is not the easiest for any government to implement programs. It comprises 1,200 islands separated by sea. And traveling there in 1970s and 1980s with sailboats, reach out to isolated communities was enormous challenge. So from that, we have come to where we are today. Um, in an ideal situation, poverty should remain at 0%. But we do have, with our national poverty line of $8, we do have about 5%. In this 5%, a large number of them live in rural small islands. Urban poverty is less than 1% in the country.
Um, that's unbelievable information. I have a couple of questions. First of all, what is the population of the Maldives, please?
It's a 500,000.
500,000 people are scattered across how many islands? 1,200, 1,600?
Uh, we have a total of 1,200 islands, out of which people live, resident populations live in 187 islands.
Okay. Wow. So that poses several problems on several fronts, I would imagine. How much of your work that you're doing to support your population is dependent on international influence, and how much of it are you able to sustain on your own?
Well, the Maldives is 100% import dependent country. What we produce in the Maldives is basically tuna.
Tuna. Okay.
Interesting.
Tuna, yes.
I was not, I don't know why, but I was not expecting you to say tuna, but okay, now I know.
By the way, the Maldivians are the largest tuna eating population in the entire world.
Okay.
Wow.
Per capita consumption of tuna in the Maldives is by far the highest in the world.
Interesting.
So we do have nutrition available in the country. Food security, when it comes to tuna, is available to 100% everyone in the country. Tuna is available. But the Maldives has always been an import-dependent country. We always import everything, starting from basic staple food to luxury goods. We import everything. Now, in the past 20 to 30 years, the Maldives also has been producing water. So 100% of the country is served with desalinated water. So the import dependency with the desalinated water import dependency is again higher. Our groundwater in the islands have gone into completely gone. Salt intrusion has eliminated groundwater in the islands. So if there is any change in variation of prices or supply chain disruptions, the Maldives can hit very, very hard. We import rice, flour, sugar, vegetables, everything to the country. Now, we do also have a large tourism industry. Over 2 million visitors make the Maldives as their destination every year. Last year it was over 2 million. This year we are aiming even higher number. So in addition to the resident population, we also serve a large tourist population in the country. And tourists coming to the Maldives are in the higher bracket of the market. So again, dependency on imports is exacerbated by that. Now, the government tries to ensure that the supply chain remains undisrupted. And there is something that the government has always taken a good care of. We as a nation has, seen some years ago, some 80 years ago during the Second World War, for example, the Maldives was not attacked, but Indian Ocean was center of a real chaos.
It was busy.
Yes.
The Indian Ocean was busy, yes.
And supply chains are disrupted.
Mhm.
And poverty, starvation, famine was widespread in the Maldives. Although the Maldives was not part of the war, the entire country's population actually went down by 3 to 4% during the famine because of the disruptions in the Indian Ocean.
That's
I have 600,000
Same
questions.
here.
Okay, the first thing that came to my mind when you said that everybody in the Maldives has access to tuna, which I think is amazing, is how are you affected by, do you monitor mercury levels in your food? Like, is that an issue that is talked about nationally?
It has always been an issue that we discuss. Um, in the Maldives, when you actually in English we call it tuna. Um, tuna actually refers to group of fish,
Okay, that makes sense.
large group of fish, and in the Maldives. For local consumption, Maldivians normally eat skipjack tuna,
Skip that.
which is caught by hand. Actually, in Maldives, we don't use net. One at a time. That's caught, and then we process and export that. And then we also have yellowfin tuna.
Mhm.
That's the second largest group of tuna that we export and also consume in the country.
Mm-hmm.
We do engage in vigorous testing of our tuna. Both scientific as well as traditional methods are used in the islands. Maldivian population in the islands. By the way, I come from a very, very small island in the Maldives. Grew up in a very small island. When I say small, it's quite literally very, very narrow that you can actually see when you stand in the middle of the island. You can see from one end to the island,
Wow.
the other end of the island, and recognize the persons on both sides at the same time.
Oh my God.
Come on.
Okay.
And the other thing is, you've gone from that to becoming a United Nations ambassador. I mean, that's like
Kudos.
unbelievable journey.
Growing up in such a small community, you know the traditional beliefs and traditional people's approaches on these kind of issues, like for example, identifying tuna in which mercury level is high. Both scientific as well as traditional methods are used to ensure that high mercury level tuna are eliminated from the food chain.
So, what about sustainability? Like, if the whole country is reliant a lot on tuna, is it a sustainable food source?
Sustainability in terms of I can take you on board in two different directions. One is sustainability in terms of certainty in tuna catch
That's what I'm.
is seasonal. There may be some seasons, some days in which we don't get any tuna, um, but thanks to both traditional and modern methods of storage. Now, of course, we have ice plants. Traditionally, Maldivian families would dry and smoke tuna and store it. That we also export as well as for local consumption. Sustainability in catch. The Maldivian tuna fishing method is considered worldwide as the most sustainable method of catching tuna. The method is, as I said earlier, is by one at a time, pole and line. You actually throw your line with a pole uh, to catch tuna. So we actually know what tuna that we are catching. So there are no bycatches in the way the Maldivians catch tuna. Um, we don't have large commercial vessels going through our waters to catch tuna. So I can talk about tuna catch for hours and hours.
Yeah, so overfishing is not a concern.
No, overfishing is not an issue, but tuna is a highly migratory fish. Let's keep in mind. So if there is an overfishing in either on the south or on the north or in the east or in the west, that does affect Maldives.
Yeah, of course.
Mm.
No agriculture on the Maldives at all. No indigenous agriculture.
Indigenous agriculture, no, we do have indigenous agriculture. I actually come from an island which is known widely in the Maldives as the most agriculturally productive island in the Maldives.
Congratulations. Very good.
Um, but we lie right on the middle of the equator. The equator actually goes through the Maldives,
Mhm.
Okay.
and the Maldivian islands are geographically coral islands, and it used to be very thin layer of fresh water.
Hmm.
So there is only so much you can grow in the Maldives
Right.
naturally. But with right now, in the past 20 years or so, 30 years or so, because of the increase in demand because of the growth of the population as well as tourism industry
Hmm.
and the demand and the dependency on imports, there have been efforts by entrepreneurs as well as government subsidies that ensures that we grow fruit and vegetables, that tropical fruits and
Hmm.
vegetables, some of which are native to the Maldives, and using modern techniques to grow that. Some resorts, especially resorts that have larger land masses, do grow vertical as well as horizontal agriculture in their own islands. Um, Hydroponics has been a big revelation in the islands. So even if there is a supply disruption now, although small percentage, but still a significant amount of fruit and vegetables are produced in the country.
Right.
But we do not grow is rice.
Right.
We don't grow flour,
Corn
and we don't produce sugar.
or corn? Do you produce
No,
any or corn? Do you produce any corn?
no, we don't. No.
So you could have like rooftop gardens on all of your resorts. You could try and do that, and maybe it would keep the cooling down in the hotels. Also, I was wondering, do you have monsoon season in the Maldives?
We do. We have two monsoons. One is southeast monsoon, in which the wind comes from the east to the west, and then we have southwestern monsoon. The rainy season in the Maldives is mainly from May to mid-August. Would be the rainy season. So we do get a lot of tropical rain, and the Maldives does get quite heavy winds and rough seas during June and July.
Do you have any capacity for water collection during monsoon?
We do. Maldivians have, for a long time, have been surviving with rainwater harvesting, um, but it has its own challenges in harvesting water in such a tropical climate. Mosquitoes was one issue that had caused trouble to the population, to the communities in the islands, and other waterborne, insects come in. Now, most large islands in the country have running water installed by the government to the island, so they have access to tap water for both drinking, hygiene. So wash projects, if you like, have been implemented almost all the islands in the country now.
So, Ambassador, it's been around 60 years that Maldives has gained independence.
Exactly 60.
Exactly 60. Okay. So, in 60 years, getting to a stage where you can say practically you have eliminated poverty, it's in the global scale, that is really a remarkable feat. How do you think, not how do you think, I'm sure you know, what did you do to get to that stage?
Right. Yeah, first of all, um, M- Maldives, in its remarkable development journey, have been experimenting with different policy interventions at different times. Some policy interventions have worked, some have not. The challenge had always been access to the islands because of communication challenges. My first, my very first trip from my island to the capital, which is about 200 miles from my island to the capital. It was in 1980 January. It took me 7 days by a ship,
Wow. Okay. 7 days, 200 miles.
200 nautical miles, 7 days. Now we have 17 to 18, 20 regional airports. And the moment I traveled from New York to Male is the capital. And from Male to my island, it takes about 40 minutes.
Okay, I love that for you.
Development.
That's a real game changer.
How does poverty come into that equation? We started implementing poverty elimination projects designed specifically under that heading, under that umbrella, in only in mid 1980s. Before that, it was providing people with access to food, ensuring food security to the islands, and generating employment, and uh, uh, reviving or starting economic activities which will ensure that there is sufficient access to cash, access to funds, access to other resources. And that by the time we actually started in 1985, what was the first time we implemented National Development Plan, which included poverty elimination as number one priority. By the time that project started, we actually, the islands in the country, in various parts of the country, had actually started on a number of activities that eventually led us to, eliminate poverty, absolute poverty and hunger.
I wanted to ask you to that end. Small island nations also often pioneer innovative community-based projects to achieve their goals so that A, they're not dependent on the government, but also they can make do with what they have available in their local communities to move themselves forward. Can you think of any initiatives like that, island to island, or in the Maldives in general, that other countries could take as inspiration in terms of programming and initiatives?
The Maldives is quite different compared to other small island developing states. There are very few archipelagic states within the SIDS community. Maldives is one of those archipelagic states, multi-island states. But Maldives is also different to other archipelagic states. That number of islands in the Maldives are enormous in number. Other countries will have 30 islands, 40 islands, maybe 100 islands. We have 1,200 islands, and which are separated, which are in the vast area of Indian Ocean. So the challenges in Maldives, or the solutions we have been able to shape in Maldives, or over decades and if not centuries, have been experimented, sometimes failed, sometimes succeeded, experimented and accumulated over time. And that had helped us to overcome that. But one thing that is common to any country, whether it is the Maldives or any other small island developing states, or for that matter, any other country, is involvement of community in sharing the solution, or in shaping the solution that you wish to implement in the country. I grew up in an island where my parents would take me to meetings that community would have with community leaders, uh, asking or trying to find out what sort of a rainy season might be coming, or a rough season might be coming, and we can't travel, and what's the level of food storage, for example, the island has, and they would take an account of it. And we didn't have electronic communications at that time. Island leaders would travel by sailboats to another island to communicate a message to find out whether there are any surplus food available. And because even now, even today, there are people in the Maldives who have the memory of starvation in 1940s, and they don't want to go there. They don't want to see anyone in the island die out of starvation. And that had always been, in my father's and grandfather's generation, that had always been a fear. Uh, so the engagement with the community and trying to find out what their fears are, what their needs are, what their aspirations are, what is it that they wish to achieve in the island, is one thing that other SIDS can emulate, and other countries also can emulate.
I would also like to know if each one of your islands has its own identity, and does it have its own resources, or is it all sort of it's much more kind of nationalistically cohesive than that?
Well, yes and no. The Maldives has one ethnicity in the country. We are a cultural melting pot, originally settled about 3,000 years ago, and have been growing mainly. And we identify ourselves as one ethnic group in the Maldives. But island identity are very, very strong.
I bet.
very strong. Maybe because geography dictates that when you are in an island, especially if the island is relatively more isolated than others, then you see the horizon, and in the middle of it is your island, and you don't see anyone else. So if you grow up in such an island, you you are the island is part of your culture, is part of your identity, part of who you are. And in the Maldives, internal movement from one island to the other island was not that common, as you can imagine, when transportation and communication was such a difficult thing in the past. Until quite recently, people don't move from one island to the other island. Internal migration was not a big thing. If you do move from one island to the other island, you will forever be recognized. Your surname will be from the island where you were born.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I wonder if do you have cricket in the Maldives? Like, do your cricket teams all compete against each other? I imagine there's rivalry in those types of things.
Well, I wish cricket is played in Maldives more, because I'm a cricket fan. I would consider myself to be the only cricket fan in the Maldives.
What sport do people play in the Maldives? Like, what are they into?
Soccer?
Soccer, football.
Soccer, football. Yeah, of course.
Football. So, with a country with 500,000 population and 2 million tourists every year, I can only imagine how much the economy depends on tourism dollars.
Hmm.
Now, when something like a global pandemic that happened 5 years ago happened, does that affect the economy of the country a lot? And how does that work?
It did. During COVID, the Maldives economy contracted by 33%.
Wow.
We were the hardest hit country in the whole world.
Why is that, Ambassador?
As you said earlier, our economy is almost entirely dependent on tourism sector. When the flights stopped coming, money stopped flowing into the Maldives. That's as simple as that. Money immediately stopped flowing to the country. I was in Mali at that time, and I saw firsthand. I was actually involved in economic planning, economic cooperation in the foreign ministry at that time. So our dependency on tourism, tourism is such a dominant economic activity that is not just tourism revenue that matters. Is that the construction sector is dependent on tourism, because tourism brings money, and it's the money that helps you to pay your rent. It helps you to pay your wage. It helps to stimulate growth in other sectors as well, even including fishery sector. You can see when you have 2 million visitors come into your country,
It's a lot of tuna.
absolutely a lot of tuna that you'll be consuming.
Yeah.
When COVID hit, the Maldives GDP per capita was roughly $11,500, 11,000-ish dollars. By the time, by end of 2020, our GDP per capita went to $7,000.
Wow.
Yes. It went to where we were in 2005, 2006.
So how did you manage?
So it was big, absolutely big hit to the country, to the economy. But thanks to a remarkable growth in rebound in tourism growth, we have come back to where we were at the beginning of 2020. On arrivals, arrivals have gone up to where we were. Revenue has gone up to where we were. Economic growth has gone down, has gone up to where we were. But one thing has not improved, which is that in order to come back from COVID hit, we had to borrow extensively.
I was just about to ask about
yes.
foreign aid. Yeah.
We had to borrow from international financial market, as well as from we issued a few bonds as well, and that we had to do in order to improve our cash flow to the country. So that is the legacy of COVID. that our external debt has skyrocketed. Currently, it remains 125% of our GDP.
And how long? What is the forecast on how long you're going to hold that debt? How long is it going to take you to pay that off?
Um, well, loans, by definition, different loans have different payback period and different terms. But it's the share of GDP, the loans share of GDP that is the worry. And when you are a lender, when you are a creditor, you look at the country's balance sheet and you look at the GDP figures and then say, well, this economy is not good. I'm not going to invest more money. So our challenge now is two fronts. One, how to bring down that external debt share of GDP to a manageable level, ideally around 60% or even below 50%. How to bring it down? Bringing down, it requires two things to happen. One, the cost of borrowing, we could bring it down if our creditors cooperate. Number two is expanding the economy. When you expand the economy, logically, the arithmetic will tell you when you expand the economy, GDP's share will go down.
So
You need to increase the price
Yeah.
of your tuna.
So I think the next question that comes to my mind here is, especially with the environment and the environmental shocks and these kind of global geopolitical situation and COVID like situations, certainly Maldives is in a very vulnerable state. Uh, how are you planning, or what are your steps that you're taking to make the country more resilient?
Well, vulnerability is an inherent feature of Maldives and many other small island developing states. So, when a feature is inherent, you have to learn how to live with that feature. That's what resilience is. Um, we have been building resilience in different ways in the country. Um, uh, Resilience against peak erosion, sea level rise. In Mali, none of you visited Mali, right?
No, I haven't.
You should plan for your visit.
I'm coming right after this conversation, actually.
Just for the tuna.
Yeah, just for the tuna.
Please do. In the capital Mali and our main international airport is. By the way, everything in the Maldives is organized around islands.
Mhm.
So airport is in one island, the capital is in another island. Every resort is itself. Every resort is one island. There are no high-rise hotels in Maldives.
Hmm.
Um, so every island has its own unique infrastructure. So we try to save the islands by erecting seawalls around the island.
Mhm.
In Male, the capital and the airport has seawalls we built. In Male, the seawall we constructed from 1987 to 2002. It took about 20 years to construct that seawall for about 130 million US dollars. That was the first seawall that we constructed. It's a 15 feet high seawall. And during tsunami, Indian Ocean tsunami of 2004, we saw that the seawall actually protected Male from that high wave. And following that, we constructed seawall around the airport island. Now you find almost every large population center is either protected by a seawall or seawalls are being constructed at the moment. So that is the sort of physical infrastructure that we try to insulate the islands physically from environmental degradation and most negative impact of climate change. Uh, And now the building resilience, economic resilience, social resilience, and infrastructure resilience, out of which infrastructure resilience is one in which we have to invest quite substantially. Uh, in- uh, building roads, building hospitals, building schools. I grew up in an island where the school was flooded. It was quite normal during when you are kid, when you are a little kid, when you know that your classroom has water on the floor. When you see it every day, you tend to think that this is quite normal.
That's how everybody
Exactly.
lives. Yeah.
Because Maldives is so low lying.
Yeah.
The island where I grew up, it's barely 2 feet above sea level.
Wow.
When there's king tide, high tide,
Everything is wet.
everything is wet. Um, so, so, but now um, the waves are much higher. The sea is much rougher, and when there is storm coming, the storms are far more fierce. So building codes had to be changed. The construction material the engineering had to go through the changes. I'm not a civil engineer, but civil engineers tell me that the buildings are constructed according to the weather that normally, on average.
Normally. Yes.
Yeah, but that we now live in a new normal. So such infrastructure had to be adjusted to that new normal. The Maldives is quite fortunate that we don't get hurricanes. We don't get that big natural disasters that you find in other parts of Indian Ocean or other parts of the world. Um, so we consider ourselves to be quite fortunate.
Yes, I would think.
But also, there is this slow onset disasters that keep on happening, which is the damage to the reef, damage to the corals from El Nino. In the last coral bleach, in about 80% of corals in the Maldives were completely gone white. I mean, when they're bleached, they're whitened, not white. And we depend on corals for a couple of things. One,
Tourism.
of course, tourism. Tourists go and they would like to see the beauty of the corals. And second is the marine biodiversity actually lives and thrives, and their food chain is produced and exists in the corals.
It's what brings the tuna. We're all back to the tuna again.
Absolutely, absolutely. So when coral dies, marine biodiversity dies with that. Maldives is home to 4% of the entire world's corals. So when coral bleaching happens, that slowly keeps on eating up the land, because land erosion accelerates when coral dies. All the islands in the Maldives are made up of corals.
Does
So
is there work being done with, say, Australia, for example, in the Great Barrier Reef? I know they're trying out all kinds of things because they're also suffering from that same problem.
there are projects that have been implemented, again experimented over over the years in the Maldives. Coral regrowth is one, um, where we had been partnering with, you know, now the late USAID.
Yes. Rest,
Late USAID.
may it rest in peace. Yes.
No, I don't want it to rest in peace.
We did collaborate with USAID for coral growth, which, by the way, is a successful project. So now resorts themselves have taken the initiative in coral growth and regrowth in the Maldives, and cultivating coral again. Uh, the first is regrowth, and the other is cultivating coral. That is also technologically successful project. but both requires enormous amount of funding.
Yeah.
Of course.
Do you have a malaria problem?
We have eliminated.
Wow.
I could spend the rest of the afternoon asking you like I said, 600,000 random questions about the Maldives. Now I'm fascinated on every level. I have a couple of questions for you, please, Ambassador, if I could. The first one being, well, I have three actually. Are you pleased with how things are going? Do you feel optimistic? Are you happy about the progress? What are the big things that are kind of standing in your way of feeling really good about how things are progressing with the Maldives? My second question is, what are the projects that are up and coming that you haven't yet been able to discuss or that you're excited about? And my third question is, what is your best case scenario for the Maldives?
Right. The first question is how are things progressing? The second question is
What are some of the projects that maybe you haven't been able to talk about or that you think deserve a little bit more airtime? What are innovative projects that are coming out of the Maldives maybe to help with sustainability or literally anything? And then my third question is, what is your best case scenario? Your pie in the sky best case scenario?
right. How are things going in the Maldives at the moment? When especially relating to our topic of the day, which is food security, poverty, and that part of the topic. Agriculture has come in a big way to national debate and national politics in the past few years, especially learning from the lessons of COVID-19, when every family, everyone in the country felt the the challenges from supply chain. So that uh, uh, agriculture is not that people are unable to grow uh, fruit and vegetables in the country, is because of the transportation cost that imports is far cheaper than actually local growth in the country. And government has the current government and the previous government, as well as successive governments in the Maldives, have been trying to find a solution to that. And a subsidy has been provided by the government to encourage small artisan farmers in the country to get their products be sold to the resorts, to the larger population centers. Now, thanks to um, highly connected Maldives. Right now, as I said earlier in response to one of your questions, that it takes just few minutes now to travel from from the capital to a 200-mile island to the south. So, with the help of these subsidies, the agriculture products are being sold increasingly, and there is less demand for imported goods on this uh, category of fruit and vegetables, especially. But that only a small percentage of the total food demand for food in the Maldives. Still, we will continue to depend on external markets to buy majority of the food that we consume in the Maldives. And again, being a small market means that you depend on one or two markets, external markets, and if there is volatility in those markets, then the price will go higher. So diversifying those markets is another strategy that we are trying to implement. Again, policy interventions by the government can facilitate small traders to source their products from different or new markets. What we are doing currently at the moment, the Maldives has launched Maldives 2.0 digitization, a very ambitious project that was launched in September. That will connect all 187 inhabited islands as well as 150 resort islands in a national grid, in which provision of services to to the remotest corner will be ideally when the project is completed, will be through press of a button.
Fantastic. That's exciting.
That will be the connectivity will transform the Maldives, and we are expecting to complete it in the next 2 years.
Wow.
That's amazing.
And today, just before we came on air, Google has announced that it's going to invest in the Maldives for a subsea cable project. This is the first time Google is investing in the Maldives. So the Maldives in the southern tip of the Maldives, Google will establish a subsea cable hub that will connect the Indian Ocean, that will establish a new network in the Indian Ocean that will connect Indian Ocean to the rest of the world, from Australia to the Maldives to Africa to Middle East to Europe. So this is a big news that was announced just couple of hours ago.
Wow.
That's congratulations.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's fantastic.
What's your
Interrupted you.
third one?
The third one had been. It's very easy to relate to third one because the Maldivian president was here in New York to address the UN General Assembly in 2024. And one of the biggest announcements he made at the General Assembly was that he set 2040 as the year in which the Maldives will become a developed country.
Wow.
Okay.
Less than 100 years after independence.
Less than 100 years after independence, absolutely. So 16 years from now, we are working towards becoming a developed country by 2040. That's 16 years from now.
That's very, very
That is no
exciting.
less feat.
Yeah. That's phenomenal.
Absolutely.
That I'm so looking forward to following that journey
Mm-hmm.
because that's brilliant.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Ambassador, for your time. I think this was such an enlightening conversation.
It was fascinating.
And just to even hear that in 80 years after independence, we're looking Maldives to be a developed country, a country where poverty is so negligible, or if it's not there from a global standpoint, and that all of them happened within 60 years of independence, and with all the geographical challenges. So kudos to you and
Indeed.
your team and your government for doing what you're doing and being there for the country and the community.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for
It's a
having me.
pleasure having you, and let's continue this conversation.
Indeed.
Thanks, Ambassador.
Thanks, Ambassador.
Thank you.
Maldives. Who would have thought? Not me.
This is the most I've ever spoken about the Maldives in my 53 years on this planet.
I know.
But I had no idea about any of the things he was talking about. And also what a charming man. And,
such knowledgeable.
yeah, he just really was lovely.
Yeah, I heard him speak in Doha at the World Summit for Social Development, and the stuff he was talking, though he was as a part of the panel, so he didn't get to talk much.
Mm-hmm.
But when I heard everything he was talking about, I was like, we need him on our podcast.
Well, and also, yeah, I mean, yes. And also what a badass little country, right?
I
Like when
know.
you talk about all of the challenges that it's been facing since its kind of, inception as a country and up until now, think about it's 100% dependent on imports from other
Exactly.
countries. It's been leveraged like to the nines because of COVID. It has no groundwater, no fresh groundwater at all. There's no agriculture to speak
No.
of. They don't grow any staples at all. And yet, in 16 years from now, they're shooting to be recognized as a fully developed country. And they have no poverty.
No poverty. Exactly. That is my biggest thing. 5% internal poverty, it's nothing as compared to most of the countries.
Well, right.
But in the global
if
standard,
you're using the international benchmark,
there's no poverty.
I mean, that is extraordinary.
100%. I don't know if I can say that even for a country like Canada. I
No,
certainly
you
can't.
can't. I
Exactly.
can't think of one other country when he was talking about that. I can't think of one other country who has the same sort of socio-economic, geopolitical, like
these challenges and still come out victorious. And
Yeah.
once again, we didn't talk much about this, but I'm going to say this now: political will.
Well, yeah. I mean, again,
This is a proof.
yeah, it really is, and it's so interesting because we've spent so many of these podcasts talking about the lack of political will, and this country seems to have an abundance of political will.
And there's results showing.
Yeah.
Results are showing. And I don't know about you, but in all seriousness, I do want to go and visit
Oh,
and actually hands-on see what they're doing.
yeah,
This is
100%.
exciting.
And when we were talking to the ambassador when we were uploading the podcast, and he was saying, if you do come to the Maldives, please let me know. So, like, obviously, what I do at the end of these podcasts is a lot of times is I go on LinkedIn and connect with people just
100%.
to stay connected to them.
100%.
I'm going to become like Facebook besties with the UN ambassador to the Maldives. First of all, because I think he's amazing,
He's great.
and
The country is great.
the country is phenomenal.
And for the president to stand up at the UN General Assembly and
Yeah,
say
that's a
that,
baller move.
wow.
But I mean, he said it because he knows it's possible.
100%.
I mean, please, a lot of things have been said in front of the UN General Assembly that are not possible.
No, but this is something that he is on the
seems
way.
legitimate.
He is on the way. He has already demonstrated that what they have done
and entirely doable. Yeah,
and just doable.
Yeah.
So this was an
fascinating.
amazing
And also
conversation.
tuna.
I know. I didn't know that.
You had tuna for lunch.
Yeah, I did actually
Yeah.
have tuna. Who knows? Maybe it came from Maldives.
It might have come from the Maldives.
But at the end of the day, it's I certainly was worried about overfishing.
Yep.
But he made it very clear
And
that that's not something to worry about.
I don't want to sound pejorative or anything, but I love the fact that they fish by hand.
I know. And there's a reason for it.
Yeah.
And they don't let heavy, big fishing vessels go by their waters.
Yeah.
And that was a huge downfall of the cod industry in Atlantic for Canada.
Yeah.
So we know that. I'm glad to hear that they have proper ways. So thank you so much for joining and
amazing.
listening to this. This was a great conversation.
Mhm.
If you are not following us, the Zero Hunger Project, please follow us, and looking forward to next week's conversation. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.